Good morning, Rachel LaForce reporting live. Good morning, good morning. Good morning. We're doing the Misfit Light. Good morning. Good morning. I was not here last week. After, teaching an entire almost hour about the power of listening to our body, I was like, oh, cute. I have not been listening to mine. And so I was able to kind of slow the train down a little bit last week. So that was all what last week was about for me personally. It was just like, let's slow this train down. I was like, I'm getting on here and I'm teaching things that I am not taking advantage of right now in my life. So, and slowing down is really hard for me. I don't really like it. I like to move quickly. I'm ADD. My brain moves really quickly. So it takes a lot of awareness to slow down. So I apologize for such a late notice of being like, I'm going to cancel. I'm not going to be here. But I was like, I think that is the right choice. And I know that is the right choice. So we're back in it today. And you could probably hear my son fussing in the background. Then in the middle of all of this, my husband has had surgery, and so he's resting. So we'll see how this morning goes. He can hear me talking. That's why he doesn't like it. So, so what we're going to do, if you have the workbook, go ahead and open the workbook up. Let's see. Go ahead and open the workbook. If you're like, workbook? What is this witchcraft? I make a free workbook for you every week. I'm going to go get this baby. Hold on one second. Here we go. Okay. Hi, Ani. Oh, no. Okay. I thought, no, I'm sorry that this is the perfect example of when we just do things and we move through. I was saying that Alex, in the middle of all of this craziness and everything, I personally have been working through, and that's my last week. Come on, you can sit with me. I canceled so I could take care of myself, and then now Alex has had a surgery, so I think all of the Getland family is going to be making an appearance this morning. Do you want to say hello? Hello. You can say hello. Yeah. Hello. Hello. Thank you. That's all Mom's doing. We just had to make sure we knew what she was doing. We just had to make sure we knew. Okay, for my friends that are holding on, you want to come here? You can sit. Okay, so the reason why this is the way that it is today is because then Alex had surgery, and so he is resting. So what you're looking at is the very raw, real reality of my life. But I actually think that works perfectly for what we are talking about today. So we've been on this journey talking about how can we learn to live in harmony. I think today, and this baby wiggling around in my arms is the perfect example, right? So often it's like, oh, things are going to be perfect. Here's the way we're going to do it. Would you like to play with this? Ooh, yeah, very fancy. Very fancy. It's $27 lip gloss, bro. Yeah, enjoy it. And we have this idea of the way that everything is going to go, and we want to micromanage it, and we want our brain to micromanage it. That's what's going to be, this is how we're going to do it, because my mind is going to take care of it, and then we overthink, right? When in the reality, living in harmony, learning to live in harmony, that's so much of this. It's not living in harmony, it's not harmony, it's learning how to do it. And learning, what does that mean for me? And how do I want to do it? And how do I want it to, what do I want it to look like? Everyone's so nervous that you're going to choke on that. Here, how about this? Wow. So that is really the basis of what this entire, if you're just jumping in today on part 3. So I have made the workbook that I spoke about earlier. It's in my link in bio. You can DM me for it, and it can be sent directly to your inbox. So what this is I've had it build on every single week. So if you look at it, it'll tell you what the idea of living in harmony is, what does that mean, and then it will have the workbooks from when we just talked about harmony overall and creating that and learning to live with that in our life. Then you'll have the first week, which was body, talking all about how can we begin to listen to our body to create harmony. Our body wants to give us so much information, and we're oftentimes so not even online to all of that information, which is exactly why I was not here last week. Because as you can tell, this is how I showed up here this week. And I'm actually doing pretty well this week. Last week I was like, whoa. We got to slow the train down, right? And so I'm so grateful to have taught that last week and had that opportunity to really take stock and listen to myself. So this week we're talking about mind. Now, most of you, this is the one that you're glued into. You know your mind like the back of your hand. You know that your intrusive thoughts, your anxiousness, like we spend so much time up here. It's really sometimes is like a frenemy relationship. Where if I was like, well, why are you friends with that person? They're not even very nice to you. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. We've just been like friends for a long time. And like, you just have to get to know them, like they're not like, regular asshole. They're like our asshole, people who talk about people that they keep close in their life like that. Or maybe this is you. Maybe people talk about you this way, right? And so what happens is that's what we do with our mind. We allow our mind to tell us things, hold us back from things that we would never accept from other people. Or at least we would be way more mindful of like, that was really unkind, right? And the things that we say to ourselves, I don't know, or maybe you have a really great relationship with your mind, but mine does not work like that. It's like, oh, you think this is a good idea? Big dumb idiot. Look at you, right? So that's what we're going to be breaking down today. As always, this is the Misfit Light. I'm Rachel LaForce. I am a comedian. I'm a creative producer. I'm a mother, and I'm an intuitive. And so what I do is I'm taking a lot of the spiritual wisdom, the things that have helped me completely transform my life, and we're putting them into practice so that every week you show up and you're leaving with tangible tools. You're leaving with journal prompts. You're leaving with questions. I didn't know if he was going to scream. We're going to leave you with questions of things that you can work through to be able to build on these lessons. And what I also love about it is like this replay is available in multiple places. So this is here for you as a place to be able to learn, to grow, and hopefully these lessons are all going to interweave and they're all going to build on each other, okay? So I'm looking down because I'm pulling up the workbook. So that is the idea that week after week, you can show up here and close all these things out here. There we go. Week after week, you can show up here. And these are lessons and tools that will build on themselves. And there are also going to be a lot of things, right? We know if you are at all in the meme world, right? We say healing isn't linear. There's going to be a lot of these things that are going to move and intersect and come back around. So what I really love for my brain, talking about the mind today, is I like to have notes. I like to have a place that I can look back and be like, oh my gosh, I wrote that in 2022. That's so cute that I thought that, right? So you actually have a physical kind of space to go back and really see this growth and see this evolution. So that's what this workbook is here to do. So just walking us through when we were talking about living in harmony. Hold on one second. Okay, if any of you have ever had children, trying to keep them with our baby gates. Anyway, I realized that a baby gate was not open and I could hear that slap of Theodore. Here he comes. He's also going to be 1 this week, which is really exciting. So living in harmony is on here. Body is on here. Come on, buddy. Come here. And now we're at mind. So I'm just going to show you what this workbook looks like here. So if you're like, what does it look like? That is what it looks like. It's available to you for free week after week. Come on. Come here. Yeah, come hang out. Okay, so I've got 3 questions here for you, and this is how it works. First question, how do I use my mind? Okay, cute, sounds very simple. It's like, brilliant, Rachel. Wow, we're blown away by the spiritual wisdom. How do you use it? Here's why I ask you, is when we talk about this alignment and learning to live in harmony is learning to balance our body, our mind, and our spirit, right? Our soul or our heart. And it's learning to balance those things. And if we're not aware of how much, it's like a muscle group, right? If you're like, oh man, I really want to like build up my abs. It's like, well, are you using your shoulders for everything and you're not engaging your core? Then your shoulders are still going to be taking way more than they need to than what your stomach does. So it's the same thing, right? Again, that's why I wasn't here last week, because I realized like, oh, I've gotten really sharp with my mind, and I'm like, I feel good. I can manage this stress. No big deal. Look at me, right? And I'm just thinking I'm just throwing myself parades. When the reality was, okay, great. If my mind has now become so sharp that we're not going to store our stress and anxiety there, we're just going to push it down into our body. And how long do you want to ignore those signals? So this is why knowing what we use each thing for and having a way and a purpose to be able to check in with those systems, we're going to be able to keep ourselves much more accountable and in line, right? Because we're going to be more aware of how we're using these things. So when I say, how do you use your mind? What I'm asking is, am I aware of how often I am in my head? Do I use my brain to create problems or to solve them? Okay. You're probably like me and you're going, more of the first part. I love to make problems with my mind and then make more problems out of the original problems, right? That's what we like to do. And the reality is that our brain is a processing center. The only thing that our brain is wanting to do and needs to do for us is to solve problems, is to hold memory. We don't need it to be there to be like, yeah, bad idea, idiot. Oh, you're going to do that? Oh, do you think that they said this about you when you said that super awkward thing at that party that one time, right? That's not what we need it to do. So that's all of the beauty of neuroplasty and everything that we're really learning now through research about that we can rewire our brain. It's just a computer system. And what happens often, and I hear this a lot, and again, this is just my take, but people are like, the universe is testing me, right? Or God is testing me. And I would offer you a reframe, which is you're not being tested. You're just now aware that you used to make a different choice. So you can make any choice you want. But to me, that's just, you've become conscious enough now to realize that you used to make choices that were not in service of yourself. Hi, bud. Would you like a banana? Come here. Here, I'll get you one. Come here. Come. You want the whole thing? Here comes the brigade. Here they come. So I don't know if that resonates at all for you, but that idea where we're always saying, here, baby. Want the whole thing? What do you say? Thank you. You're welcome. That is this whole idea where it's like, no. If you're finally at the point where you're experiencing something and typically you would call that person back or you would just take on the responsibility of that thing or whatever it is, it's like, now you're just aware enough of like, we don't do that anymore. We don't play like that anymore, right? So that's a really fun place to be. And a lot of that is through rewiring this brain. So that's just a big thing. How often am I in my head? And am I using my brain to create problems or to solve them? Hi. Hold on 1 second. Open. What's in your mouth? This kid loves the rinds of orange. I'm like, bro, I'll give you you don't have to eat. That's not the part we eat, bro. Right? You want some of this? Yeah, we do. Here. The second question, what do I believe to be true? Does my mind control me or do I control my mind? And do my thoughts reflect the life that I want? So obviously a lot of these questions, they may seem redundant, but they are different aspects of this. And I think it's really important to break it down so succinctly because otherwise we're just going to keep doing what we do as we run around. No, we're fine. I went to therapy for an hour today, but I was really only listening to myself for about 30 minutes. And then I got in the car and then I went back to all my problems right away and I wasn't doing anything different, right? So, I went to that meditation class. And then before I was even out the building, I was already checking my DMs. Like, we don't give ourselves a second to genuinely institute, like, that's the thing. Once self-care just becomes, that is a peel of a banana, okay? If anybody knows my husband personally, you know that he's like a garbage disposal, and that's what I've reproduced here. So this boy will eat anything. There, how's that? Oh, yummy, yummy. Yeah, this is a good one. So that's why I think it's so important for us to actually become aware and to become conscious of these things. Because again, living in harmony, what this entire series is about, is it's not about, oh, this, like, you're going to do this thing and this thing, girl, and then, like, you're never going to have problems, right? No, like, that whole toxic wellness bullshit, like, literally drives me insane. I can't stand it. It drives me nuts. Because the true reality is, I mean, even, like, the things that I've been going through the last couple weeks, and now that I've had time to process them, I'll begin to share them a little bit more. But I was like, oh, this is not fun. I'm not here for any of this, right? And it just felt so constricting and frustrating. And the reality is where I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I heard a quote recently, and it was like, don't be humble. You're not that important. Like, or something like, there's no need to be humble. Like, you're not that important. And that was what this whole lesson felt like, where sometimes I was like, well, I teach these things now. And, oh, look at me. And I'm balancing all the stress and I'm doing all these things. It's like, great. Then you just get new problems. And you just get, you know, new levels of things that you need to work through, right? And so doing this work never stops. It doesn't go away, but we just become more conscious of it to make better choices in service of ourselves and to keep ourselves moving. So what do I believe to be true? Sorry, I have tangerine all over my hands now. What do I believe to be true? Does my mind control me, or do I control my mind? And do the thoughts reflect the life that I want? And this is really when we move into, and I know everybody has their own opinions on like mantras and affirmations and everything like that. I'm not here to convince you one way or the other, but I am here to let you know that it is scientifically proven. And you can see those examples. Actually, a good friend, Ann Odom, the reprogramming parent who I love, go check out her stuff on IG. Ann is a good friend. And she did an experiment with her children where they put a sliced apple in two different jars. So one jar was the good jar and one was the bad jar. And they spoke to it for a week. And when they pulled them out, this is all on IG, so you can go and see it. The apple that they said nasty words to and, you know, negative reinforcement to was all moldy and gross. And the one that they were kind to was actually in pretty good shape. And so, you know, we've seen all those experiments, and the same thing with plants. And so it's true. It's like, sure, you could think like, oh, mantras or, you know, affirmations or whatever. Like, I hear those kinds of things about my work all the time, of like, oh, it's, you know, like woo woo, or it's like this, or like, oh, self-help, or like, oh, like you can't handle it. And I'm like, are you? Because no offense, not my place to say anything, but you don't look like you're doing that great. You know what I mean? Like, I do it because it works. It's that simple. It works, right? So this takes us into this third part, which is, how can I begin to have my mind work for me? Tangerine? Oh. You don't want tangerine? Here. You can have some. Yum. Thank goodness for the cuties at Trader Joe's. This is what we live on half the time. These kids are so well fed. And I'm like, I feel, all we do is eat all day long. They're constantly hungry. It's insane. So, this third question. How can I begin to have my mind work for me? Work for me. In the same way, we spend all this money. We go to hot yoga. We go to these breath classes. We do, you know, we go to the stretch zone. We go to HIIT workouts. All these things. Oh, I bought a Peloton. All of these things that we do to take care of our body so that our body works for us. And I guarantee that if everybody could see your mind, you would maybe put a little bit more energy into it. It's that physically we feel like other people can see our bodies. And so it's like, oh, well, I've got to take good care of it, right? Sometimes that's the driving force. Not always, but it's part of it. And I'm like, friends, if we were to go on a tour and take stock of each other's minds, we would be shocked and disgusted by, excuse my French, the shit that people are carrying around. Okay? So that's exactly what I want to do. What would it be like to begin to have your mind work for you? What would that be like? What would that feel like? Right? And for me, it's been just getting out of it. It's been getting out of it, of knowing like when to drop into my heart space, when to drop into my body, and when to spend time here, right? I own a business with my husband. We're opening up a brick and mortar. We're figuring out, you know, comics we're going to bring through. There's a lot of things that my brain are great for. Solutions, problem solving, budgeting, great. Turn it on, right? When I'm facing fears, when I'm doing things that make me scared, when I'm trying new things, right? Using my brain, terrible place to go, because all my brain wants to do is keep me safe. So it's going to give me every example of every time. It's like, remember that time in the 3rd grade you tried that thing and everybody laughed at you? Don't do it again, you big dumb idiot, right? And so I have to remind myself, where it's like, drop into my heart. My heart is the one that's telling me to do it. My heart is the space that wants me to lead. So that's where I'm going to drop into, right? So the question on how can I begin to have my mind work for me is, what patterns, affirmations, or meditations can I put into place? Can I put into alignment with my mind and my body? So a lot of times the way to, and we're going to begin to talk about this because next week is the kind of recap of all of this, which is talking about soul. And that's really where all of this is going to combine and work together. And your body and your mind want to work together. They do, as much as, right, if I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I want to move my left arm. Great, so my left arm moves. So of course, if you're wanting to feel safer in your body, if you're doing all of this stuff to your body, but you're not bringing your mind along for the ride, it's never going to be enough. Your body's never going to be enough. It's not going to be fast enough. It didn't do this enough, right? And so much of that is because those two things are not connected. They are not aligned, right? So that's a huge thing of when we talk about affirmations or meditations and these words and things like that, okay, is remembering that they work together. So I really love in the morning, if I'm doing stretches, if I'm doing things like that, if I'm getting my steps in at the end of the day on like my walking pad, that's a great time for me to use these affirmations, to say those things, because I'm moving my body. So they're actually moving their way through my body, right? So there's also space here for your thoughts, for your epiphanies. Next week, I promise I will be back in my office, non-distraction, moving through. But I just still really felt that it was important for me to show up today, and I felt that it was really important for us to stay on top of this together. And I also think it's quite humorous, like, of course, within like learning to live in harmony, one of the weeks I was like, oh, in order for me to live in harmony, I can't show up this week. So go ahead, if you have not grabbed this workbook, I highly encourage you to. If this work is important to you, it doesn't do anything for me. Again, it's free, so I'm not here to hawk anything. I just know that I think having the visual representation, and again, I've kept all of these together, so you can really kind of circle back to them. The other reason why, before we jump off here, the other reason why I chose to do this series at this time is the spring equinoxes this week. We're really moving into new energy. I know everybody says the new year is, in January, it's the dead of winter. Because no wonder you didn't hold on to your resolutions. Are you kidding me? It's the dead of winter. Like, you're going to start something new now? I don't think so. Right? So as we're moving into this spring, when things are beginning to bloom, right, we've sprung forward, there's like a little bit, you can feel it, right? You can feel a little bit of shift in energy. People are a little bit more awake. This is a great time to begin to look at like, okay, what can I put in place for myself now? I'm kind of holding this as the new year and circling around again to this time next year. And I think this is a great way, and the body, mind, and soul. I did this workshop last year as a closed workshop. And I think it was really helpful because it's something that you can go back to all year long, and you could circle back to all year long. What worked? What didn't work? What do I want to incorporate? Just like me last week when I was like, oh, I'm getting a little out of whack, right? I could even go back to this and be like, cool. These are the things that I want to work on and see change. So that's why I think this is really important. So again, you can grab this. In my bio, okay? And I'm going to be sharing more stuff in my stories and sharing more videos this next week, all about kind of culminating and bringing this series together. All this tangerine on me. So that next week when we sit down, and that's the part 4 of this series, excuse me, we're able to really bring it all together, and you kind of have this package piece and something that you can move through and move along with. Cool? So that's what we're going to do. For everything else, go to RachelLaForce.com. You can DM me. I'm a real person. I would say real person, real lessons, real funny. Okay. If you are a person of prayer, if you've got any energy to share, my son turns 1 this week. It's a really spiritual time in our household. This is like a big deal for me. So send some love our way. We have a bunch of family coming in town to celebrate his birthday. And I'm taping a comedy special. 2 shows on Saturday at 5:30 and at 8. 5:30 is already getting close to sold out again because the 8 p.m. sold out. So I'm taping, and I'm really excited to be able to show that to all of you guys. That will drop May 1st, my birthday. So it'll drop on YouTube. So yeah, send me some good vibes for that. I would love all of your energy and knowing that you guys are in pieces. There's some there. Somehow they're with me. So have a beautiful, wonderful week. Wishing you ease as you move through this week, no matter what it is. Even if you got a husband who's recovering from surgery, taking care of 2 kids, loving on them, and getting through your work day. I hope that you know that you're a fit fiddle. You can make it happen. All right? Tune out, tune in. Love you, mean it.